Welcome back to the Trading Bell. We are speaking matters REITs, and we are with the Chief Executive Officer of ICEA Asset Management, Mr. Einstein Kihanda, letting us know what happened and in their closed offer that they just had, moving from unrestricted I-REIT to restricted. And if you just joined us, we were just at the section where we were talking some terms. In fact, I would like you to actually demystify some terms, because we've been talking about an unrestricted, restricted, unit holders, and there's a definitive term under the capital markets. What does it mean?
I think so. When you talk about restricted, it fairly means, and this is what we outlined in our publication, in our announcements. Yeah. It's really about what you call a professional investor.
Okay.
So the Capital Markets Authority, NSE, categorizes a professional investor as an investor who has a threshold in terms of minimum value of the investment at 5 million shillings.
Okay.
The assumption is that that kind of investor has access to resources that will enable them to effectively make a decision in terms of the investments.
Okay.
And like research, technology, and other ways of being able to effectively make that decision, and also possibly has the risk appetite to be able to effectively make decisions in terms of the investment portfolio. Whereas a minimum, a threshold below that, what you'd call non-professional and or retail, and therefore, I think I would say that is really the categorization. Okay. And therefore, what that means is, in a nutshell, broadly, that there is need to protect the non-professional investors in terms of information, and also the kind of opportunities that are available.
Yeah.
But I think what as I said, more important, it's really about the risk profile, and also the access that they have to advise. For instance, stockbrokers, investment advisors, lawyers, and other professionals in the financial services sector.
Okay. Let me ask on the same thing. Was there room for this non-restricted or non-professionals, even we use that term, was there room for them to sort of like come together so that at least they can qualify to be among the professional investors?
Yeah, that's a very good question. Yes, they had options. So if you are a non-professional investor in the REIT, the first option you had was to accept the redemption offer of the 11 shillings, through which you will then go through a process of the redemption. Okay. Number two, you could actually top up your investments so that you reach the 5 million shilling threshold, and you would therefore be a professional investor, and therefore you don't have to go through the redemption process. Okay. But the third one is where you would actually do nothing. Okay. And the reason for this is we need to also cater for the fact that there may be investors who probably will simply not be able to access them. They may not be reachable. Yeah. They may also be going through probate in terms of transfer of assets, and therefore within the time in terms of ownership, say from a deceased person to beneficiaries. So as a result of that, you also have to take in the possibility that you will not get 100% of those investors. So what will happen to them? What will happen to them is that they would then all be put together in a bundled nominee account. Okay. And that nominee account, managed by us as a REIT manager, would then be able to hold all those units on behalf of those unit holders. Yes. They will still hold whatever units they held in their name. Okay. But it will be now under that collective bundle. Okay. And they would have that nominee account would have voting rights at the AGM. Okay. If there are any dividends that are paid in, they will be received and they would be distributed to the unit holders. Okay. So we also had to make sure that we take care of
that they're covered.
Yeah, that we also cover.
Absolutely. By the way, for those who choose to redeem, when are they getting their money?
So for the calendar, they are being paid on the 24th of October. So once we complete the process and the results are out, we'll then be able to make the payments. Okay,
back to the restructuring, and you mentioned it earlier that you chose to move to the USP platform, and I was just curious why. Maybe for the sake of people who will be asking, why did they decide to move on this particular side of things?
Well, again, that's a good question. Why? The reason is because, as I said, the biggest challenge that we faced over that period of time was, of course, the volatility of the market, and the impact that it had in terms of the valuation, and also the fact that there was need for stability, especially because it's important for us to be able to engage with with property owners, and even in terms of capital raising. That stability was necessary. As you have seen from the and I'm sure, I mean, you're very familiar with the movement in the market. There's been significant volatility, and that does not augur well for a REIT or any investment that requires regular, capital raising and to be able to engage with the property investors who, for instance, would want to swap their properties for units or any other capital raising venture that we would undertake. It would be fairly compromised, and therefore there was need for that stability, and also to give the REIT room to be able to undertake the actions that were necessary for us to place it on a path of growth. Remember what I said, the original, from the time of the IPO in 2015, not having adequately raised the capital that was required, and therefore invest in the pipeline of assets that were already in the plan, it meant that the REIT started off on a very low footing, and therefore there needed to have been the time to be able to build the property portfolio to the point where there was a sufficient critical mass for investors. So what we are basically saying is that we need that time to be able to undertake the various measures that are necessary to put this REIT on a platform for it now to gain the momentum that was necessary for it to continue to grow.
No, you're right. And as we come to a close, Einstein, there are two questions here. First, for the person who could be watching and saying, 5 million, man, some figures could be hit in there. But I would want you to spell out, because I know now you're getting to a time where now you're structuring your next movements, which you'll probably share in a very few minutes. But where is the place of the small investor, the small unit holder, for example, who could be saying, I believe in ICEA, and one day I would want to tap into that. So probably you could share on that and maybe combine it with what are you looking at as a strategy moving forward?
I would say for starters, in terms of the investors, it may not necessarily be directly in the property market, but for us as a group, we have products that are that cater to the needs of the investors. Actually, if you look at our investment product, we start all the way from 500 shillings. So we are structured in a way that we can be able to take care of the needs of investors all the way from 500 shillings and above. So we are not saying that. So we certainly have the ability and the capacity to cater for those investors, whether it is in terms of money market investments, fixed income, and equities, and other exotic products that you can look at and look for in terms of investments. So those opportunities are still there. But now coming to the REITs itself, I think there is hope in the sense that we have seen growth in terms of new REITs coming into the market. We are now, we started off in 2015 with only one. We now have 3 in our market, and from my understanding, there's a pipeline of others that are following. What that basically means is that there are going to be a lot of understanding and familiarity with REITs, and people will now be able to invest on a continuous basis. So I think there's hope for that.
And I think mine was more of looking forward. What are you looking at towards maybe next, what's in the offing? I don't know whether it's 5 years or so.
So I think we've given ourselves a target in terms of raising, in terms of where we want the REIT to be, at least double in size from where it is right now within the next 5 years. And I'm sure we're going to be able to achieve that. We're working very hard in terms of being able to position ourselves through the acquisition of properties. At the end of the day, for this REIT to grow, it needs to acquire properties, and therefore we have, as a REIT manager, we have an obligation to the investors to go out there in the market, look for those properties, and bring them onto the REITs and deliver returns to the investors. So you'll be hearing a lot more from us, as we now complete this process that will set us up on the path for growth into the future. So we are very optimistic about what it means for us, and we appreciate the support that we've received from our investors, the regulators, and all the other stakeholders, because I think it will give us the time and the opportunity to be able to position the REIT for the future.
I know about a conference that is coming up. I think it's RAC, REIT Association of Kenya. And I know you're part and parcel of it because you're part of the pioneers of this market. And one of the questions is, when you look at, and I started with this though, but I want to finish with this, the current government agenda as well has come out strongly with housing, I mean real estate, and really trying to especially house its people. Are you seeing in your strategy somehow, maybe sometimes moving towards even, housing for the people as well? Is it part of what you're thinking about? Maybe I know.
Yeah. I think certainly housing will be a critical area of concern, especially looking at what we are as a REIT, and even the REIT market in general. Because what that does is that having a structure that enables collective investment into property markets, and knowing also the housing deficit that we have in this country, certainly REITs presents a very important opportunity for investment in property. And I think, speaking about the conference and as an association, what we've sought to do is to present opportunities for stakeholders in our industry to understand a lot more about what goes on out there in other markets, because it gives an opportunity to understand some of the difficulties and challenges other REITs have gone through, and also build in terms of capacity. We've also been involved in association in terms of policy proposals in government, measures that will help the REIT grow, and we're also involved in a lot of investor education, right up to the university level in terms of professionals in the industry. So I think the lessons that we are learning, we believe, will help us in terms of growing the REIT market. You've gone through the ups and downs of developing this, and we still hope you keep up the spirit, and we wish you well from the Trading Bell Show, so that at least we can get to learn as well. Thank you. Thank you so much for your time, Einstein. Most appreciated. There you have it. And before I leave you with the markets, just one quick announcement. You just heard us talk about the RAC conference, so just visit them. I think you can check on their websites, REITs Association of Kenya or rac.co.ke.